You're listening to From There to Here, a Star Trek Enterprise podcast. Hello, my name is Josh, and with me is
Justin.
Today we are reviewing episode 17 from season 1, Fusion. On the IMDb, this is rated as a 7.0 out of 10 from 1,700 votes. The plot is as follows. When Enterprise encounters a ship of Vulcan pilgrims, T'Pol is convinced by one of them to perform a Vulcan mind meld. Pilgrims? I don't remember them using that word in there.
I believe they did.
No, that was a bit odd to read, but okay.
Was it my turn?
That would be your cue.
You kind of trailed off. Anyway, according to Wikipedia, this has an original air date of February 27, 2002, directed by Rob Hedden. And let's see, there's a couple little bits of behind-the-scenes information. It was originally going to be titled Equilibrium until they realized there was a Deep Space Nine episode of the same name.
Oh.
Brandon Braga talked about bringing sensuality to Star Trek and called the episode, quote, a twisted tale of seduction, like a Vulcan 9.5 weeks.
Okay.
Well, for Star Trek.
Okay.
Of course, you and I pointed out to you at the beginning that Robert Pine, one of the Vulcans, is Chris Pine's father, who, of course, played Captain Kirk in New Trek.
Right.
And according to Connor Trinier, one of the actors playing a Vulcan before filming completed, or playing a Vulcan left before filming completed, and had to be recast and his scenes reshot.
Really?
But he doesn't say who.
I would assume it's the one he has the scenes with.
You would guess, because none of the other ones talk. And then Jolene Blaylock enjoyed this T'Pol-centric episode and was quoted as saying, I hate to sound biased, but it was so much fun to do. It was the first T'Pol spotlight episode. So,
really?
I guess mainly about her. I guess so.
Well, what
this
about
was really hers.
I guess so. I mean, there was that one with the letter that Trip uncovered. I mean, I guess that wasn't solely centered on
her episode. She had her bit, But
yeah. Well, you just want to cut to the meat of the episode.
All right.
I liked it. I'm not going to give you my rating right now, but I liked it. I enjoyed it much more than I thought I was going to. What about you? Did you have a?
I thought it was okay.
Okay.
The performances were all fine. What bothered me about this, and it really did sort of hamper my enjoyment of the episode, and I mean, we can talk about the things we talked about as the episode played, but
right.
The guy, the Vulcan that she interacts with, is so obviously up to no good from the moment he lays eyes on her.
Mm-hmm.
She's a smart person. It makes her look stupid to fall into this game he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really stuck with me, and it kind of irritated me.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where you and I, as the episode played, we kept making jokes.
Yes.
Like that he was slipping date rape stuff into her drinks,
She was Bill Cosbying her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever he could do. He was clearly focused on a goal.
Yeah.
And
so what you do is you put the thing in your tea and
in your chamomile tea. Yeah, and it was that really affected my enjoyment of the episode. Like I said, the performances were all good. His was good. I mean, he totally comes off as sleazy as he probably intended to.
Sure.
Or he probably thought he was coming off as suave, but he comes off as absolutely transparent.
I think he turned on the sleaze.
Well,
yeah.
I hope that's what his intention was.
Mm-hmm.
Her performance was perfectly fine.
It doesn't help that most Vulcans will have that placid kind of look to them, even though he was expressing emotions.
Right.
For the most part, they don't tend to be very.
Well, I'm
expressive.
sure they cast him because of that. There's an arrogance to his face, and
yes.
He probably could read the phone book, and it would come off as arrogant. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they cast to that, which makes it hard to enjoy because he's really unlikable. He's really a douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the T'Pol factor, which is she would see him coming a mile away. And as tempting as some of these things would be, it wouldn't be with him.
No.
And so that really affected it. And to me, that really hurt the episode because she's smarter than this.
Yeah, in part, I kind of agree, but it didn't. I was allowed to give it a pass. At least I allowed myself to give it a pass. because I was enjoying the ride. Mm-hmm. But if you want to go back to the beginning, the show episode begins. They come across this Vulcan ship. Of pilgrims, apparently, which I had no idea they were pilgrims. Is their ship called the Mayflower?
I don't know. They were out there pilgriming.
So they're out there pilgriming, and that's when Enterprise comes upon them. And the captain of the ship is Chris Pine's dad, as a Vulcan. And immediately, Archer is a little surprised at his demeanor. He doesn't seem
He's very cordial.
He doesn't seem to be a regular Vulcan. He's not a...
He was pleased to meet him.
Yes, very good to meet
odd.
You. He's like, good
Which makes
to meet
them all
me.
pause and go, what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Never met a Vulcan like you before.
Yes.
Very interesting. So he comes over, they have dinner, and this is a complete 180 from that dinner they had with that other captain during Breaking the Ice.
Where he said like 2 words.
He said like 2 words. I only drink water.
Yes.
That kind of thing. Yes or no.
No.
This guy is actually engaging in conversation. He actually wants to eat meat. And Archer has to clarify, you sure you want to try this?
This is meat,
it's
right?
meat, you know.
Yeah.
You know that, right? Oh, it looks delicious.
Yeah,
yes.
Like, okay.
And
she's clearly offended by his...
to Paul?
Yeah. To
in
Paul
that moment?
By his...
openness or...
well, I don't know what the word is. His lack of discipline.
Lack of emotional discipline?
Yeah.
At least, well, we'll see a lack of emotional discipline when it comes to... What is the character's name? Creep. I just don't want to call him Creep the whole time. So,
let me pull it up.
Okay. Well, Creep, a.k.a. Creep, is...
Tolaris.
Tolaris is also there at the dinner. And immediately, you're hearing... Red alert. Shields up, Captain. This guy's up to no good. The way he's looking at to Paul, you're like, okay, this guy's obviously got an ulterior motive. And it's obviously sexual in nature because the way he's looking at her. You can see the rape in his eyes.
Keep him away from the decon chamber.
Yeah, you're like, okay, this guy's bad news. And there's also, they set up another, which is kind of like a B plot of the story.
The Cov storyline.
Cov? Is it Cov or Cobb?
Cov.
Cov, okay. I wasn't sure if they were saying Cobb or Cov, but apparently it's Cov. Cov is played by an actor who I recognize from something, but I can't quite pin it.
Right. Very affable looking
very
guy.
Likable, affable guy. But he's playing another Vulcan, and like the captain, he's kind of at ease. He's not creepy like the Creep, but he makes friends with Trip.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the B plot. They spend some time together in engineering.
That probably was the guy that got recast, given that it was Connor Chenier that specifically said it.
Yeah, that's why I said that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would imagine, that...
That's interesting. I wonder what happened.
Who knows? Like in that episode of TNG,
right.
Ensigns of Command, that guy's voice was dubbed over.
Oh, I thought you were going to refer to...
I've never seen a Shellyak. It's like clearly dubbed.
No, I thought you were going to refer to the recasting that had to happen in what's the date episode where he gets kidnapped by the Collector.
Oh, the Most Toys.
The Most Toys.
Oh, right.
But that was a very sad story of what happened with Kivas Fajo. He had to be replaced because the actor took his own life, which was very sad.
Why can't you just sit in the chair?
Oh, my God. I know they released the footage.
They shouldn't have.
It's almost insulting that they did, but
No, it was unfair to the other actor to do that. I mean, he was playing it completely differently.
Yeah.
And it's his last performance. The guy was obviously suicidal.
Yeah.
You should not have shown that. It wasn't fair.
I wish he hadn't done that at all, but I would have loved it. I love the guy that played it, Saul Rubinek. I mean, he steals every scene he's in.
That's why people remember that episode.
I mean, he shits all over everyone. He's so good. Mm-hmm. I mean, he actually gives Brent Spiner a run for his money, and that's hard to do. And he's really, really good.
Bubble gum, I preserve the scent.
Well, the other guy, whose name I'm forgetting.
I can't remember
the
either.
little person.
Right, from Time Bandits.
I think it's only like 1 or 2 scenes that are even on the extra features. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much of the episode he shot. I would have loved to have seen how he did those scenes with Data, if he did those things. Because that would have been really interesting. Because I like that actor. He's quirky.
I think they showed maybe 2 or 3 scenes.
I feel like it's David something. Anyway, moving on. Point being is that, that Cov actor is the B plot.
So yes, he was probably
the
one that replaced this other actor that left for some reason.
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe it was something completely innocent, like a family emergency.
Oh, sure.
Or something like that. But that B plot, I kind of enjoyed. I thought that their interplay was interesting.
They had a natural chemistry on screen that you just they liked each other. You could tell.
Well, you know,
the characters.
Yes, the dialogue that they had was very relaxed. They were comfortable with each other. They wanted to clear up misconceptions. The things that Trip was asking seemed innocent enough, but comes off as really awkward. And being a Vulcan, Kov doesn't really understand why he would feel that way.
Right.
Like in the mess hall, he says, "Well, you know, when Vulcans get together, yeah, you know what I mean." He's like, "Oh, you mean sex?" And he says it really loud.
We do have it.
Yes, we have it.
And everyone's looking.
It's like, huh?
And
Everyone
Trip
turns
is,
around.
"Oh,
It's like,
stop
oh,
it."
and
Yeah.
of course that's when Reed shows up.
There it is. Yeah, Reed.
Yes, he's got this knack for.
Like I'm telling you, Reed knew what he was doing. He was in that room. He heard that conversation. He wanted to get in on it, so he made his way over.
Yeah.
Reed's full of surprises.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really come to be a fan of Malcolm Reed.
But I kind of enjoyed that this character was asking Trip about
humans.
He was curious, which
Yeah.
is something the other Vulcans have never shown.
I heard you sleep for 12 hours.
He
a
said
day?
half the day, half
Of
the day.
your day.
And you eat 6 times a day. You indulge in pleasures. He's like, what?
And
No.
you do it with every woman that you see whenever you want to. And he goes, well, not really. I don't know what humans you've met, but no.
I did like that part of it, and we can just stay on this track
Sure.
and reach its conclusion because they are 2 separate tracks basically. But they kind of get close, and there comes to a point in the episode where I think it's the Admiral
Forrest.
Admiral Forrester calls and tells Archer that, well, this Vulcan's dad is dying. He's reached out to him. He wants to communicate with him. Can you ask him if he'll call back? So Archer asks Trip to do this.
Well, Archer tries first.
That's true. Archer does try first, and he gets shot down.
Pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly. This guy clearly has a past with his dad he does not want to bring up, and considering how long Vulcans live, must be pretty serious.
Right.
So you're like, okay. So Trip does it, and Trip gets shot down almost as quickly, but Trip manages to turn him around. But I thought that the tactic that Trip used was a little insulting and kind of demeaning.
The story
that he told. I thought that the way he wrapped it up in a nice little bow and then delivered it to him and said, well, I didn't ask that girl to dance, and my life has been filled with regret. I still think about it now. I've got a feeling you haven't come to that part of your life yet, or something like that. I'm like,
Right.
The guy's probably twice your age. I was like, what are you talking about?
Well, you don't know. He could be the age he appears.
I don't know about that. Still, the
But
fact that he hadn't
Vulcans-
experienced any kind of regret like that yet.
Vulcans wouldn't. I mean, he would have to have a life situation, which he probably has not had yet, to where he would experience regret. Vulcans just don't live that life.
But
he's
Trip
new
just
to this.
assumed that he had, and I thought that was a bit short-sighted of him.
Well, I
to
think he
do.
was making that judgment based on the fact that Kov was so willing and absolute to shut that door with no apparent thought that there would be emotional consequences to it. Someone who has experienced regret or any sort of strong emotion due to the loss of someone or something like that, I think their reactions would be, you as a person with feelings would be able to read in them that, yes, they're choosing not to do this, but you would sense the apprehension or that little nugget of something in there. And he can just read this guy and go, no, this is like a kid, like a teenager with emotions. Damn it, they're going to do what they want, and damn the consequences and all that. He's just unaware of how much this will affect him. And I think Trip can just see that.
I didn't pick that up.
Oh, wow.
I mean, maybe if this guy was seen as younger, but he seemed to be, if not the same age as Trip, older. And I felt that he probably has experienced regret. He probably knows he's a Vulcan that is in touch with his emotions. He's going to know what that is. And probably has experienced it before. If it was a teenage Vulcan, that's a different story. But this guy was an adult.
Are you talking about regret? Yeah,
I'm talking about regret. I just didn't. Obviously, we disagree on this one.
It didn't bother me.
I thought that the story.
I thought it was too on the nose, and maybe he could have led him to water, but led him to.
Well, it was too cutesy. I thought
It was very cliche.
You are conflating, and equating, not asking a girl to dance and then his
the
dad
death of her
dying.
father.
And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, it's a little different. Heavier emotion on one. Okay, much heavier.
That's now all I hear is
What?
if Trip had told another story, and let's say he's talking about he got into a fight with his parents and joined Starfleet and took off. And then what I hear in my head is Val Kilmer in Top Secret. I never saw my mama again. Now that would be regret that you could relate.
When I was about 6 years old, my mama took me on a trip to the city. We went to one of those big old department stores, and I got lost. They tried to page her, but the PA system was on the fritz. I never saw my mama again.
And then my mama died.
Okay.
I don't know. I agree with you in the sense that not asking a girl to dance is quite a bit different than not talking to your parent before they kick the bucket. So, yeah, maybe they should have come up with a story a little more weighty.
I think if he talked about his own dad, maybe that would have been better.
Maybe
because I don't know if they've ever talked about Trip's parents. Maybe Trip had lost his dad. Maybe he had
I don't recall.
Maybe he had a similar experience. I don't know.
Right.
But I felt that would have been better. I mean, come on, childhood crush. Come on, get over that. Come on.
He could have told a story like, I was on this mission somewhere, something, and the reactor was going to go, and for a few minutes there, we all thought we were going to die. And for that few minutes, all I could think about was the last time I talked to my sister, and we got into a fight. And
I thought that was the last thing I was going to say to her.
But if that's the last, I regret that.
That would have been better.
That would have been better. No one had to die.
No,
it was just
that's true.
Look at that. I just did that right there. That's all they had to do.
Yeah, and I probably would have not had a problem with the scene.
Right.
But that arc, kind of that storyline, that B plot resolves itself when Kov leaves and gives Trip the news that, oh, my dad's gonna pull through.
He's the one that gave me the news. I talked to him this morning.
Yay! And you're like, okay, it's a little too neat, but he they leave on good terms. He thanks Trip. I thought that was fine. One of the reasons why I enjoyed this episode so much was that we don't get to see Vulcans like this.
Right.
We never get to see them like this. Most of the time they're...
Well, we saw Cybok.
Yes, we saw Cybok. Yes, we did. It's me. It's Cybok. But so when we see a Vulcan expressing emotion, being curious, it's fun. And that's why I find when T'Pol does it interesting, like in season 3. I mean, I know that's way down the line, but when she explores some of the darker sides of herself.
Well, just in the last episode when Malcolm has his dream and she smiles. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to see her do something like that.
Okay, so if we go back to plot A here, the Vulcan Creep.
Well, let's just call him Creep.
He's already up to no good, but T'Pol is interested.
She's curious.
She's curious,
and they have peppered little things throughout the series so far to show that she is curious
about emotion.
Just curious in general. She's more willing to explore things than she wants to admit.
One of the reasons probably why she's still on the ship.
Right. It's intriguing.
She could have left.
Yeah, and she's talked a few times about all the time she's spent on Earth. She's been there since Archer was a boy. So, and in this episode, she talks about living at the Vulcan compound somewhere in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
And,
right.
Going to this jazz club where she's hearing the music. She's had this bug in her. So it's not like when I said earlier, it's not like it's out of the realm of possibilities that she would be intrigued by this character to do these things. Because I know if anyone's listening, that's what they would say, which is, well, she's shown interest in these things. Yes, she has. I'm talking about the guy. She would never trust this guy.
No, and it's a bit of a cliche.
Yeah.
I know why they're doing it. It does feel a bit cheap that they had to write this character to be so sleazy and creepy right from the get-go.
Yeah.
I wish they would have played their hand a little quieter.
Yes.
Made him a bit more... Because it reminded me of Violations. Remember Violations?
Yes.
Is that the one? Isn't there two where someone's getting mind raped?
Well, no, you're thinking of Violations.
Okay. He comes off as very suspicious too.
I know, right off the bat.
Right from the beginning. And there's also that thing about, the mind rape. But
he's as obviously guilty as Ensign what's his name in Voyager, That's
What?
that's feeding information to the Kazon.
Oh, yeah.
Neelix, get away from that panel.
Yeah.
Sweating bullets.
Yeah.
Please just leave.
Everything's fine, Neelix.
Nothing's
okay?
wrong
Nothing's
here.
wrong here. Nothing
like-
to see here. Please.
It's so painful.
I know.
But it's the same thing here where
Yeah.
that's what I said. She just would never trust this guy.
Well, nobody on the ship would.
No, of course not. And so to finish,
But that's where it goes into the territory of like, because you just said during the trivia part,
yeah.
you mentioned that, was it Berman?
No, Braga.
Braga wanted to do a little like 9.5 weeks thing. I'm like, well, that's where that's coming from, because you got plenty of these like erotic thriller movies where the girl hooks up with a guy that you're not quite sure you like yet. You're not quite sure where he's coming from, you know?
Yes.
That kind of
I
guy.
get the reference.
Yes. You're like,
No, you're right. And I
because we don't want him to be like the guy in the PG-13 movie everyone's really hoping makes it happen.
no, you're right.
No, but
Yeah.
they played it too erotic thriller, you know, where he's like,
they could have done that, but honestly, I hate to, I don't like to say this. I get no pleasure of saying this. It was the guy. It was the actor who I could see in other roles being just fine,
Mm-hmm.
but given what they were doing for this and what their intention was, he was the wrong casting choice, because it needed to be someone that he was an attractive guy.
that looked friendlier.
He needed to look friendlier,
Mm-hmm.
but yet still be smooth and all that. So when he reels her in, you don't realize he's reeling until it's too late. And all he has to do is give a look.
Yeah.
And I don't know who that could have been, but this guy gave it away from the first frame he's
yeah,
on screen.
yeah.
And that's where the problems start.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it had, because the Trip Cov relationship just feels natural, you know? And with these two, she's very Vulcan and repressed, and he's trying to chip away. And then you've got his sleazy intentions right on the surface. If they had been able to cast it differently, someone that she just had natural chemistry with, like she does with Connor Trenier,
Right.
it would have made so much more sense for her to be willing to be in a room alone with him to when he says the words, a mind meld is intimate. You know, that it is. I mean, that we can't even fathom what that's
if
like.
he was more like, I don't know if this is a great
Sure, pick
example,
one,
but if he
yeah.
was more like the outrageous Okana, you know,
Yeah.
like if he was suave, you know, like that.
Not, I mean, of course I love that guy, but
Yeah.
that's not even what I'm talking about. It needed to be something else. Maybe he would have on screen totally had chemistry with her, and then bam, fine, great. I can't see that dude as a Vulcan.
Well, he
for
needed just
nothing,
to be
but-
non-threatening.
Yes, and he was very threatening.
Yes.
from
So
moment
he needed
one.
to have a more affable look,
Yes,
congenial look, friendlier look.
absolutely.
And it's just, this actor has a different kind of look. No offense to him.
no, I know.
It's just the look
not
he
him.
has. And I was
It's-
like, okay.
it's just not appropriate for this role. Yeah,
And the tension builds slowly because their scenes are dispersed
yeah,
throughout the episode, and the way it begins, you know, with him asking her about in the mess hall, that's when it starts. Oh, what are you having? Mint tea? I'll have some mint tea too. They get uncomfortably close to each other, physically close, and then in the next scene, they're on the Vulcan ship again. He's trying to tempt her, and eventually wins her over by her sheer curiosity. Her alarm bells are going off, but she's too intrigued. She's too
Yeah.
intrigued by what this guy's talking about
Right.
the fact that he's been able to balance emotion. She sees the statue of Sirach, and you're like, well, that's like an oxymoron. You guys, I thought you rejected his teachings. Why do you have this up here? It's like, no, we don't reject it. We just interpret it differently. She's
Right.
like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I hadn't thought about it like that. So there's curiosity. Well, okay, how do you do it then? She would want to know.
sure.
So she might discount those alarm bells about the creepiness. I can buy that. But bringing in that mind meld, we haven't seen a mind meld yet.
Not on this show.
No, this is the first time. And it's done to violate somebody. I thought
Yeah.
that was a very interesting way to introduce it to this show. I felt that the mind rape almost made me laugh a little bit. I know that came off really badly. Okay.
All
Because
right, Bill.
no, the mind rape was The way they did the scene, I thought was awkward.
The zoom ins.
Yeah, the odd zoom ins. But then when they got into Paul's mind, and she's walking in the streets, it's clearly a backlot, and you hear that jazz music. It was almost goofy sounding in a way.
It was too frenetic.
And then when she was imagining herself in bed with Mr. Creep,
right? And
that music got like into its sexy mode. I was like, what the hell am I watching here? Like a Skinamax movie? I was like, what is this? And I was trying to repress a laugh.
I wonder if that wasn't her thoughts, if those were his, because they were sharing thoughts and emotions. I wonder if that was his impression. I think
you're supposed to imply maybe that it was her, that because she felt invigorated by the music, maybe. But since he has that,
but she
factor,
seemed in the dream of it. She seemed surprised to look over and find him there, whereas he was cool as a cool cat. Right. So I think that was him. His influence.
Yeah, I think.
Look what we could do.
Yeah, that's true. Well, she was. I think there was a matter of attraction for her to him.
Sure.
Not maybe sexually, not yet, but he took advantage of that and made it sexual. That's probably what happened.
And then he broke her brain.
Basically, he pushed really hard. He did
and she said stop.
She did say stop.
That's a no.
And like I told you, man, I was like, I thought someone's nose was about to bleed because they were getting so intense.
Right. But this,
it was like that.
It was like episode has consequences.
It does.
There's mind meld follows her for quite some time, and she's looked at as a kind of a pariah.
She is. That's right. I forgot about that.
Because people that, first of all, people that participate in mind melds, it's considered dirty. And then the ones
which is interesting because it's not considered dirty later.
No, not later. Because
but now it is.
Right. But they address that in season 4.
Right.
And so she goes from now until season 4 with in fact, there's an episode called Stigma.
Stigma. Yes.
She goes with this stigma now. It's almost like the AIDS of people that. Well, I mean, it was an AIDS allegory.
I know everyone has AIDS.
AIDS. I know. I like that. I like that it stuck with her for a while until T'Pau went, fucking idiots don't know what you're doing here. Give me your head. It's fine. You're fixed.
Yeah.
And then she's obviously the one that spearheads this whole thing of no, mind melds are fine. You just got to do it right. I can't wait till we get there. That's a long way away.
It is. I mean, but other than that oddly placed music, I thought that, it was weird. I mean, it was jazz. It was,
it was very, add some rhythm to it, guys. It was just noise.
I see what they were going for. They were trying to make it very unsettling.
Yes, it was supposed to.
And that's what it was. And I got that. I just, some moments of it I felt were a bit too, like I said, late night Skinamax erotic thriller territory. Sure. It's like, okay, that's weird. But that moment where he's pushing really hard through the mind meld and she's resisting, I thought their acting was really good. The look in their eyes, the terror in her eyes, and her eyes were welling up and getting red. I was like,
yes,
she
looked in pain.
Yes. And his makeup was weird.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yes. Like
it was like he was pale.
Well, they do that with Vulcans. They give him kind of like this.
Because she doesn't have that weird tint.
No, she doesn't. She has a nice brown tint.
Yeah.
But a lot of Vulcans, they tend to give like this slight greenish tint to them. And this one, his makeup was blotchy. Yeah, like he had a thick chunk along his forehead, but then you could see his normal skin tone above it. I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't think they were thinking. I think they just thought we wouldn't notice.
Well, we sure did.
Well, maybe that's because it was shot in HD.
It was shot in HD. Yeah. You can't even get away with thinking it wouldn't be noticed.
Well, people didn't have...
it was a big fat close-up.
People were still watching. People still had kind of 4:3 TVs and
still
smaller.
No excuse.
No, I agree. There shouldn't be, but maybe that's what they thought at the time.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But after that, the scene between him and
Archer
that
was the best scene of the episode.
Probably.
Although it could have been even better, honestly. I liked it, so of course, after that night, and he walks away.
Well, we didn't mention that after that encounter, T'Pol was so affected she had to call sickbay because she fell to the ground, and so she had to be taken to sickbay. So he really did a number on her.
So the next morning, creep shows up at
Archer
Archer's office
calls
because
him.
he's called him.
Doesn't say why. At least it's a ruse.
Well, yeah,
Calls him
it's
for
a
different
ruse.
reason.
He
right.
talks friendly for a minute, and then he kind of lets that go. He kind of lets the guy fall completely into, oh, I'm fine. And he's up and getting ready to walk out. When he goes, oh, by the way, you'll be working alone today because you mind fucked T'Pol and she's in sickbay. Mm-hmm. And he, what are you talking about?
It was completely consensual.
And then he gets real serious. He goes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And he gets right in his face.
No, you know damn well what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I was like, yes, do it. Do it. And then I love this. He picked the guy up one-handed, picked up Archer
I'd forgotten
one-handed.
about that entirely.
Me too.
He did this to
and he
Archer.
Threw him across
He picked
the
him
room.
up like Cybok did with Kirk in Star Trek
with
5.
one hand.
With one hand and tossed him across the room.
Like it was nothing. And
Archer,
he even warned him. He was like, you should let me out of this room.
Yeah.
Because this guy was about to lose
let me out of it. But his response was good. It's like, T'Pol was right. You do have a temper, don't you?
Yeah, and that's what did it.
But Archer knew that was going to happen.
And then
he was prepared
went for a gun
because he had his phase pistol there ready.
Yeah.
And I really wanted him to shoot him. I was like,
wish
please
he
tell
had
me.
done something. Like, I wish before he pulled the gun, which ended the fight, I wish Archer had gotten a fist hook in there somewhere.
Something.
You know? Of course, I will always remember Cisco talking about Vulcans.
Yes.
And, they're faster too. They have 3 times the strength of a human and they're faster. So Archer wouldn't have stood a chance against this guy. This guy was young.
Yeah.
And,
for a Vulcan anyway.
Well, for a Vulcan, yeah. But like, just give him one shot because that's the one we want for the audience. If this is what you get, even if it didn't really hurt him, just to do it or just shoot him.
I was really hoping he was going to lunge for the pistol and he was going to shoot him.
Yeah, give him a reason.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to happen, but it didn't. So I was disappointed. That was the disappointing thing about that scene.
Maybe they should have played with our expectations and had the creep guy go, I know, Captain. You're just waiting for me to lunge or give you a reason to shoot me. And he should have shot him. No, I didn't really need one.
I would have loved it if Archer just, said, what if the Vulcan said, what are you gonna shoot me? He said, no, I'm not going to shoot you. And then just pops him right in the face. The Vulcan just kind of takes it and just kind of.
Now I'm going to shoot you.
Just goes, and he kind of smiles at him a little bit and then leaves. I was like, I wanted him to just punch him.
That would have been even better. Yes. To have Archer ram him one, and it would have bounced right off of the guy, and he'd gone.
He would have taken it and just
walked away.
Just left,
because that would have been more insulting to Archer for him to just like, you're not even worth a fight. That would have been really good, or to have Archer just shoot.
Oh, just shoot him,
and wipe the blood from his lip and call the Vulcan captain. One of your guys is down. You might want to come over. And just that would have been interesting.
Yeah, but this guy. We don't know what happens to him. We don't know if he's ever sanctioned or anything because they're not they're civilians. We don't know what happens with this guy.
Yeah. I don't think there are consequences.
Not for him. It doesn't seem like there is.
We don't see him again, do we?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
So he gets away with it, basically.
He does.
Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much where the episode ends. We're kind of left with T'Pol recovering. She's still...
Yeah.
That note at the end was good when Archer goes to her quarters and she's trying to meditate and he asks her how she feels and she says, well, have they left? And he says, yes. And then she responds, well, then I feel much better. So I'm glad that guy's out of here. And I'm like, well, that was good. They didn't wrap it up in a bow and say, oh, I meditated and I purged the feeling. It's still.
Do you think it would have been too much for... in that moment at the end in the tag to have T'Pol say something like, Captain, it was a risk to challenge that guy in your ready room alone like that. Vulcans are incredibly strong compared to humans. You put yourself at risk to defend me and all of that. You shouldn't have taken that chance or taken that risk, something to that effect. And maybe Archer could have said, that guy took a chance walking into the room with me. Have a good night, T'Pol. Just a little thing that Archer's saying, I would have totally flattened him if I needed to,
I wouldn't have minded that, but if they were going to go with, like I proposed, Archer decking him in the face, I think it would have been best if only we knew about that. That was something Archer didn't tell anybody else,
right? And
the Vulcan didn't mention to anybody else either. Mm-hmm. It was just a moment between them.
Maybe.
Like Archer saying, I owed you that, and you know it. Like, get the fuck. Get out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he should have said, Yeah, after he punched him, he would have said, "Did you really think that was going to hurt me?" He said, "No, but you deserved it anyway."
You deserved it. That would have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're dismissed. What? That's
Like, get your-
that's Starfleet for get out.
Like, get your Vulcan butt out of my office.
Yeah. And just have him walk away from that. And then
yeah.
I would have liked to have, for that exchange between Archer and T'Pol to have happened, just for a little feel good moment for the audience to show that Archer, I mean, we already know he was in Papa Bear mode protecting her, but just a little thing to say, yeah, I knew I was in danger. Well worth it. Not have done it again. You know, just a little thing.
Yeah, who knew pilgrims could be such rapists? Right? Man, it surprised me. Anything else you wanted to... I think we covered everything about this.
This guy is equally as creepy and obvious
As the Violations guy?
as A&W Root Beer guy is in Supergirl.
Supergirl. Yeah, there's a reference people are going to
What are
remember.
you trying to do? It's just
the way we are.
Like, we see you, we have to rape
But
you.
even when Max Headroom did that, it was, you know, he was still funny.
Well, that's because it's Max Headroom
Yes.
guy. This guy was not. So,
No, he was not funny. No.
yeah, no one's going to get that reference.
There might be a few people out there that remember Supergirl.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
What do you want to grade this episode?
Well, I'm going to give it, and it's honestly, again, I hate to say it, it's because of the actor. I'm going to give it a B-.
It's rather low. Okay.
Well, I don't know. B is a good episode. He's the weakness. He's where the episode falls apart because he's the linchpin to the T'Pol part of the story. And she just she'd have seen right through him. It's got to be someone that is more believable.
She did see right through him.
Yeah, but he's too much. Like, you would not you're putting yourself in danger. It's too much.
Well, he was over the top. Like I told you, I was willing to dismiss that. He's over the top and obvious for the people in the cheap seats, you know? Like,
to anyone.
Yes. But I found the exploration of
the
that
exploration.
interesting.
Yes. But he threw the whole thing off. His dynamic messed it up.
Well, I dismissed it,
For
like I
me.
said. So I think this is an A episode. I'll give it an
Maybe
A
B?
minus.
Oh, no.
I really liked it. I was very entertained.
The concept and all of that, the B plot with Kov and all that was fine.
Exploring this other side of
that
Vulcans,
dude.
I found to be something they've never done
of course.
before.
I'm all for it.
And I thought it was well done. I was never bored. I wasn't exactly sure how creepy this guy was going to
I
get.
wasn't bored either, in all fairness. Maybe a B, but not a B plus.
And
no.
the relationship of Trip with Kov was a nice counterbalance to Paul and Creep. I was like, yeah. It works. I really liked it. I mean, I'm sorry, it doesn't seem like a lot of other people did too, because it was rated like a 7.0, which is
right?
Yeah, which is relatively low. Some like mediocre episodes I thought were rated a bit higher than this. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think we're like outliers or something when it comes to rating these things. We don't seem to agree with the majority here.
Apparently not.
No.
And even like ones that we think should, like, what was the
Dude,
Shuttlepod 1?
Yeah.
We thought that was fans would give it a 10. No. It was a
Like,
7, right?
most people agreed with Dear Doctor, but
Yeah.
like they were like really like lenient on like Terra Nova. Keep bringing that one up.
I know. Well,
It's so bad.
for Enterprise, it's Terra Nova. For Voyager, it's
Threshold.
For
But I enjoyed
TNG,
Threshold. Threshold is
it's-
interesting to watch.
I agree.
Terra Nova was
Was
just
boring.
bad and boring.
I know. No, Threshold is fun. I don't agree
Yes.
with that, but that's the reputation.
Yes.
Just like with TNG, it's Shades of Grey, which again,
I enjoy
it's
it.
entertaining. Yes, it's a clip show, but it's still entertaining.
They're good clips.
Well, I suppose if you had to pick one for D Space Nine, it would be Alamarain.
Well, people pick that, but I love it.
I do too.
I love Move Along Home.
I
Move
dare you to
along,
watch
move
that
along
episode
home.
and not laugh.
It's only a game.
Please.
Yeah, I know it gets a bad rap, but I enjoy it.
It really does.
I find it immensely entertaining. I love when Dr. Bashir knocks himself out trying to. Such a great performance.
Oh my lord. He probably it makes his skin crawl to watch that, I'll bet.
Yeah, he probably doesn't go back to that one.
I
very often.
doubt it. Yeah.
No. Anything else you wanted to add?
No.
Oh,
I'd say
what's coming up next?
Oh, well, let's
Yeah, we didn't look it up.
Take a look. See. Yeah.
Rogue Planet.
Rogue Planet. I think that's the one with.
I don't remember.
I think that's the episode where Rene
Rousseau
or Aubergenois Odo.
Really?
I believe.
I didn't know he did one of Enterprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without makeup or anything. He plays the father or something to this girl. There's like a mystery about her.
The father. Okay. Okay, well.
No. I'm wrong. He is not listed in the guest appearances.
Okay, then. I guess.
Eric Pierpoint.
All right, then.
Rogue.
Well, thank you for getting me excited for nothing.
No, that's totally this. I think he's unbilled.
Huh, okay.
That is this episode.
Well, I guess we have to wait till next week to find out.
Would you like to hear a little snippet of information about it?
Before we do it?
Sure.
Sure, go ahead.
The episode had a Nielsen rating of 3.3 and received generally negative reviews.
Okay, that's a nice setup for next week.
Yep.
We're heading into a real great one next week.
It's going to have to work hard to beat Terra Nova, so I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, you got to go pretty low to beat that one.
Yeah, that's their bottom of the barrel.
Oof, man, that's bad. So bad. All right, see you in the next one.
Yep.